The second night of my wedding should have felt like a dream. Soft whispers, shy glances, maybe the warmth of love beginning to bloom. But instead, it smelled like garlic. My husband turned away from me, slipped a clove into his mouth, and closed his eyes, as if I didn't even exist. It was only the second night of my wedding, and once again, my husband did that same strange thing that had angered me the night before. He slipped a garlic clove into his mouth, turned his back to me, and fell asleep. I stared at him, half angry, half confused, then sighed and lay down too. But sleep wouldn't come. I already knew this routine. Until dawn, he wouldn't move, speak, or even glance at me. Just that quiet, steady breathing, and the faint, sharp scent of garlic filling the room. I hated that smell. And he, my newlywed husband, seemed to love it. Who sleeps with garlic in their mouth? How could anyone even stand that taste? Every time he spoke, I could smell it. That strong, stubborn scent. My mind started spinning with questions. Maybe he didn't even like me. Maybe this marriage was forced on him. I thought, if you don't like me, at least be honest. Don't hide behind garlic. He looked so ridiculous to me, lying there with a garlic clove between his lips, like some odd ritual. And somewhere in that anger, I started resenting my mother too. It was her decision after all, her choice that tied me to this man. I was young, full of emotions, maybe even expectations. But he was already 40, calm, composed, distant. On our first night, he hadn't even touched me, and now the second night was no different. It felt like I wasn't even there. I had imagined something else entirely, that he'd care for me, maybe even be captivated by my youth. But the reality was the opposite. He slept peacefully, and I sat awake in silence, leaning against the bedpost, watching the night slowly fade into morning. The sky outside turned pale. I looked at him, still turned away, still lost in his strange world. And in that quiet moment, I wondered, is this what my new life will be? A room filled with silence, and the faint smell of garlic, instead of love. The call for Fajr echoed faintly from the mosque when my husband finally opened his eyes. He found me sitting awake beside him. Rabia, you haven't slept? He asked, his voice calm, almost casual, as if the whole night hadn't passed in silence between us. I looked at him, eyes filled with anger and unspoken words. He understood my feelings right away. I turned my face away, but inside, my heart was screaming. I wanted to grab his collar and demand, "What exactly do you want from me?" He read my silence and smiled softly. Then, without hesitation, he leaned closer. The smell of garlic reached me again, sharp and unpleasant, and I instinctively turned my face away. He noticed and laughed gently. "Soon, you'll start liking this smell," he said, "once you find out why I eat garlic every night." Before I could respond, he took my arm and pulled me gently toward him. My head rested against his chest as he whispered, "You gave up too easily, Rabia. Think about it. I'll be leaving soon for abroad. How will you live without me? You can't even bear 2 nights of distance." His words were tender, but they stung. I looked at him with mixed anger and confusion. This man was almost my father's age, yet here he was, speaking like a young lover. Maybe my mother had seen something in him I couldn't, or maybe it was just the money, the promise of a better life that made her hand me over so easily. He looked into my eyes again. "Tell me, how will you live without me?" he repeated, his fingers brushing against my lips. I felt my face grow warm. The same man who had ignored me for 2 nights was now suddenly filled with affection. "Don't talk to me," I said softly, pretending to be angry, but my voice trembled with shyness. He smiled, leaned in, and kissed me gently. The sharp scent of garlic filled the space between us again, and I held my breath. He noticed, but said nothing. "Come," he whispered instead. "Let me make up for last night. Let me erase every complaint in your heart." His words sent a strange shiver through me. Part fear, part longing. I turned my face away, shy and uncertain. Yet something inside me softened. He pulled me closer, his voice low. No more distance between us. Rabia. And as he leaned over me, the room fell silent, except for the beating of 2 hearts. Mine, racing wildly, and his, steady and sure, as the dawn light began to touch our faces. For years, marriage proposals kept coming for me, but none ever seemed to satisfy my mother. She always had her own idea of the perfect match. And that day, she was glowing with excitement. "This time," she said, "I found exactly what I wanted." I took the photo from her hands, curious. But the moment I looked at it, my eyes widened in disbelief. "Mom, are you serious?" I said. "Did you forget to wear your glasses? This man looks at least 35, and you're telling me he's 30. I stared at the picture again. He looked mature, far older than the number she claimed. I looked at her, waiting for an explanation, but instead, she frowned. "Shrat. Don't talk nonsense," she said. "He lives abroad, in Kuwait. He has a big house. No shortage of anything. If a man is a little older, that's a blessing, not a problem. Older men value their wives more. Their love is stronger, more stable. Look at your father. He's 10 years older than me, and I've never lacked respect or comfort. If he were my age, we'd be fighting every other day. That's why I want the same for you." Her voice was firm, filled with pride, as if she had already decided my future. I looked at her in frustration. "But Mom, he doesn't even have a full head of hair. If he looks like this in the photo, how will he look in person? What's the point of money if I don't even feel attracted to him? What will my friends say? They'll laugh at me." A strange sadness filled my heart. Was this really all my beauty and youth were worth? But my mother brushed off my words. "These are childish things," she said sharply. "Your friends will get busy with their own lives. Think about your future. You won't live on looks alone. This man can give you security, comfort, respect. That's what matters." I clenched my fists and muttered, "So this is it. After rejecting so many good proposals, you want me to marry this man, this stranger, just because he has money. Why not let me marry Amir instead?" The name slipped from my lips before I could stop it. Amir, my aunt's son, a good man, caring, with a steady job. The moment I said his name, my mother's face turned red. She grabbed her slipper and struck me across the face. "How dare you?" she shouted. "How dare you speak of Amir in front of me? Don't you ever take his name again." Tears stung my eyes, but her anger didn't stop there. "You don't know your aunt like I do," she hissed. "When I was newly married, she made my life miserable. I will not make her my co-mother-in-law and ruin my peace again. I don't care how good Amir is. He's Najma's son, and that's enough for me to say no." Her words echoed in the room, sharp and final, and I realized my marriage wasn't going to be built on love or choice, only on my mother's decisions. Mother kept muttering under her breath, her voice low but full of irritation. Then she suddenly looked at me and snapped, "Enough!" I've already told you. They're coming this evening, so get ready properly. Wear that new outfit we had stitched for you. It's just a matter of a few days. Once this boy marries you, he'll get both his sisters settled too. His mother is old and sick, and there'll be no one left in the house but you. You'll be the queen there. Besides," she paused, "it's not like he'll stay here with you forever. He'll be off to Kuwait again soon. After that, all he'll do is send money." Her tone was confident, as if she'd solved my entire future in a single breath. To my mother, marriage wasn't about love or companionship. It was about comfort, status, and financial security. Maybe because she herself had struggled through bitter years with my father, she believed a little hardship was fine, as long as there was money in the end. But that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted someone I could look at with pride, someone whose presence would make my friends whisper with envy, someone like Amir, the man I loved. I wanted him to see who I ended up marrying, maybe to prove something, maybe to break something inside him. But the truth was, when I looked at that man's picture, even my own heart sank. Still, what could I do? My words carried no weight in front of my mother. That evening, the boy's family arrived. 2 sisters, and their elderly mother, who walked with the help of a stick. I studied them carefully. The sisters were quiet, simple girls. Their mother didn't ask many questions either. There was no arrogance in their eyes, only politeness. As they stood to leave, the boy's mother smiled faintly and said, "Well, brother, we really like your Rabia for our Shahid. Our son is coming back soon. We want the marriage to be done simply." And of course, my mother's eyes lit up. This was exactly what she had wanted. A rich proposal that asked for nothing in return. She said quickly, "In a hurry, we won't be able to prepare much dowry. If you could give us a little time." But Shahid's mother smiled again and said, "We don't need anything. Shahid earns well. Our house is already set. We just wanted a good girl. And your daughter seems perfect." Her words sealed my fate. In that moment, I realized my future had been decided, not by my choice, but by everyone else's. They liked me very much, and within just a few days, my engagement was finalized. My parents agreed right away, even though Shahid's family made it clear they didn't want any dowry. When my mother told me this, I felt a sting of anger and disappointment. For years, she had saved every beautiful thing in the house, saying, "This is for your wedding, Rebia." But now, suddenly, all her promises had changed. "You found a good match," she said. "Who knows if your younger sister will get one like this? I'll give all these things to her now." Her words broke something inside me. Within a week, the wedding date was fixed. Shahid was returning from Kuwait, and everything had to be done quickly. Shahid's family arranged everything. My dresses, jewelry, even the decorations. Everything looked perfect. Everyone in my family said I was lucky. They said I was going to live like a queen. Then my nikah took place. When Shahid finally came and sat beside me, I was stunned. In the photo, he had looked somewhat young, but the man sitting next to me that day looked far older. His face pale, his features tired, and the glow of youth long gone. He smiled gently and greeted me, but I couldn't bring myself to reply. My eyes drifted toward the people around us. The cousins, friends, neighbors, all looking at me with curiosity, even pity. All my life I had been proud of my looks. I used to laugh at mismatched couples and call others unlucky, and now fate had played the same cruel joke on me. When Amir, my cousin, the man I once dreamed of marrying, came on stage to congratulate me. His smile pierced my heart. It wasn't kind. It was mocking. He said, "Congratulations," in a tone that carried both sarcasm and pity. And then he walked away. My friends weren't much different. They tried to hide their laughter, nudging each other and whispering, "Is this what she got?" That night, I left my home for my new life. My heart heavy, my dreams shattered. But what awaited me was worse. After the wedding rituals, Shahid said a few polite words to me. Then, without a moment's hesitation, he placed a garlic clove in his mouth and turned away to sleep. I just sat there in disbelief. I had thought he would hold me, speak softly, maybe make me feel special, at least on our first night. But there was nothing. No emotion, no warmth. Just the scent of garlic and the sound of his steady breathing. It hurt me deeply. All my life men had chased me, praised me, written poetry about me, and now the one man who was supposed to love me acted like I didn't even exist. Either he was very tired, or maybe he just didn't want to fulfill his duties that night. A strange restlessness filled me. I sat awake all night, my mind running in circles. And then, Carla's words started echoing in my ears. Before my Rukhsati, when she saw Shahid, she had whispered to my mother, "He looks so old. Are you sure he'll make our Rabia happy? These foreign men spend their youth chasing other women abroad. And when they return, they only want a servant for their mothers and sisters." At that time, my mother had scolded her and silenced her. But now, those very words wouldn't leave my mind. What if Carla was right? What if something really was wrong with him? Otherwise, who falls asleep snoring on their wedding night? Did he already waste his youth somewhere else? The whole night passed in confusion, and when I finally closed my eyes, the sun had already begun to rise. The next day, everything was a blur. The rush of preparations, the grand walima, and the glitter of my in-laws' wealth. They were rich, truly rich. The arrangements were so grand that even I was impressed as I looked at my jewelry, my beautiful outfit, and the admiration in people's eyes. A strange pride filled my heart. So what if the groom wasn't what I imagined? His money surely was. I had something to show off, and I did. During Mudikai, my husband gave me a diamond necklace, and oh, how I flaunted it. Especially in front of Amir, I kept twirling it around my finger, making sure he noticed every sparkle. His face fell, and for a brief moment, I felt avenged. But that night, when we returned home, Shahid once again put a garlic clove in his mouth and quietly lay down to sleep. I stared at him, wide awake, the same ache in my heart returning. When dawn came and he noticed I hadn't slept, he came close, gently held me, and laid me beside him. As he leaned toward me, his breath reached my face. The sharp, raw smell of garlic hit me, and I screamed. I pushed him away in disgust. "What is this smell? I can't bear it. Why do you eat raw garlic cloves? How am I supposed to be close to you like this?" Tears welled up in my eyes. I had thought that a man who lived abroad would at least stay away from things like pan and such habits. I've always hated men with red-stained teeth, but my husband had a strange habit I couldn't understand. He stayed quiet for a moment, then said softly, "I'll tell you why I use this. When the right time comes." Then he took my hand and pulled me close. I turned my face away and whispered, "Please, Shahid, just brush your teeth. I can't bear this smell." Seeing my state, He quietly went to the bathroom, brushed his teeth, and came back. And then, the way he poured his love upon me was beyond description. He was restless, desperate, as if he'd been waiting years for this moment. My muffled sobs filled the room, and somewhere between his breath and my tears, morning arrived. I fell asleep out of sheer exhaustion, and when I woke up, Shahid was still sitting beside me, watching me in silence. The next day passed in a blur. Guests came and went, asking the same questions, offering the same smiles. But when night fell again, Shahid once more placed a garlic clove in his mouth. This time I couldn't hold back. "Shahid," I said sharply, "please tell me, what is this habit? I can't tolerate this smell anymore. Why do you do this?" He looked at me for a moment, then said, "Rabia, I'm only here for a few days. Don't push me away." That first night I was exhausted. But now, as long as I'm here, I want to be close to you every day. His tone was pleading, almost desperate, but I still pushed him back. He sighed and said quietly, "All right then, sleep now. I'll brush my teeth in the morning, and then come to you." I felt deeply offended. How could he agree to stay away from me, just to keep that awful habit? I've hated the smell of garlic since childhood. Even in food, I wouldn't touch it. And now, my husband slept beside me every night, with a whole garlic clove in his mouth. So that night, I waited for him to wake up, and when dawn broke, he finally threw the clove away, brushed his teeth, and came to me, with a love so fierce, it erased all my anger. 10 days passed like this. Every night the same ritual. Garlic first, silence next, and every morning he came to me with the same burning passion. And I couldn't help but wonder, how could a man who looked 40 still hold so much fire in him? 20 days passed like this, and then my husband's health began to decline. He stopped eating. Even a sip of water was difficult for him. I asked him again and again what was wrong, but he stayed silent, until one day I couldn't take it anymore. With great effort, I dragged him to the doctor myself. The doctor examined him, asked him to open his mouth, and immediately shouted, "What have you done to yourself?" I froze. Shahid lowered his eyes, ashamed. Then he whispered, "Doctor, every night I sleep with a garlic clove in my mouth." The doctor's face turned red with anger. "What nonsense is this? Do you even know how dangerous that is? This isn't medicine. It's poison when used like this." He scolded Shahid harshly, because inside, his mouth was completely infected. It was almost rotten. He couldn't even swallow properly anymore. The doctor grabbed his shoulder and said sharply, "Why would you do something so foolish?" Shahid sat quietly for a long time. Then, in a trembling voice, he began to speak. "I went to Kuwait when I was very young. Just a boy, really. I lived alone, cooked my own food, washed my clothes. Whatever I earned, I sent to my mother here. I never kept anything for myself. Sometimes I ate raw food, half-cooked food, whatever I could afford. Then my mouth began to hurt. Ulcers, burning. Sometimes my tongue would swell. Sometimes I couldn't taste anything at all. I thought it would pass. I couldn't afford doctors there. And when I came home for my wedding, I didn't want to worry anyone, so I stayed quiet. One of my friends told me that if I slept with a garlic clove in my mouth, it would cure everything, but I was scared. What if I told my new wife that I had an infection? What if she thought I was sick, unfit? So I hid it and kept sleeping with that garlic. Every night, the room fell silent. Even the doctor looked helpless for a moment. He sighed deeply and said, "Do you realize this could have ruined your throat completely? Yes, garlic has benefits, but misuse can destroy you. Never follow someone's advice blindly. Now, you'll need a long treatment. Strong antibiotics. If you'd come earlier, all of this could have been avoided." He handed Shahid a long prescription. And as we walked out of the clinic, Shahid's eyes were full of guilt. He turned to me and whispered softly, "Rabia, I'm sorry.